Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise. Hey, now they put up a little notice that says your mic is muted. It's like, yes. So now it's not. Anyway, thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. I am so sorry about having to cancel the show last minute last week. My internet was being beyond jinky and it kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And I just didn't want to take the chance to do the show and just having it be, like a 10-minute thing and it dropping and I can't get back in. Anyway, so we, for the last couple of episodes, have been talking about reptilians and underground bases. And so I'm going to do a little bit of review and then move on to the new material. And so basically, where this presentation is coming from is that in contemporary UFO circles, there is this narrative that suggests that reptilians live in underground bases. Or there are three basic tenets: that reptilians live in underground bases, that they have advanced technology, including genetic engineering, and their goal is to control the world via the New World Order. And so some of the things that we talked about was there is this concurrence of myth from around the world. They tell very similar stories. And to me, this suggests, based on the geography of these stories, that there is some level of truth about them. And so we started off talking about the underworld. So the first episode, we talked about this whole UFO phenomena and about the global myth. And then the last show, I talked about the underworld, which, on one level, it is the home of the dead. It's where in antiquity, when you died, you went to. It is identified that this underworld is located very deep within the earth. According to Gilgamesh, 7 leagues into the earth. And a number of other myths suggest that there are a number of levels. The primary number that you find is that there are 7. And in Indian mythology, they suggest that the Nagaloka, the serpent people, live in the very bow of this location. And so that's where we left off. And so this is actually one of my favorite parts of the presentation, talking about the reptilians in general. So let's see if I can make this work. Okay, so let's talk reptilians. Because, they're reptilians. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about, well, actually, let me back up. Let me back up one slide before we go there. So here's a little bit of background of what myths suggest about what we contemporarily call the reptilians. And so in the Rita vernacular, in the Dr. Rita vernacular, I refer to them as the fertility gods, because when you look at their characteristics, not their physical characteristics, but more how they present themselves, they are always associated with water. They are often identified as being mischievous, and not that they're mischievous as in pulling pranks, but they take their own counsel and do things that they feel they should be doing, even if it's in disagreement with the other gods. They are tied to the creation and education of humanity. And when they are depicted in art, they are often depicted as being a half man, half fish, or half snake. So that's how they're depicted. And in the global narrative, and in my book, E.T. Chronicles, what Myth and Legends has to say about human origins, which I always love for you to buy, which is on Amazon, I really talk about the different gods and their positions and the story. But according to this global narrative, the fertility gods were here on the earth first. And they had a battle with the Caucasian sky gods and were sent into the depths of the earth, aka the underground bases, where they have lived ever since. So when you start looking from a visual perspective of these fertility gods, so this is an example that you find in coming out of Greece. And so this is part of the battle of the fertility gods having the battle with the sky gods. And one of the figures on there with the snake legs is Kronos, who was in charge of the earth prior to his battle with Zeus. But as you can see, he has snake legs. And the other fertility god next to him, other than having great buns, has snake legs too. You know, and as I've said, to me, if I find something in Greek, but I find it also in Sumerian, okay, whatever. It's when I start finding it in different places around the world. And so these are representations, again, of the fertility god. One is Quetzalcoatl, the one on the left, and the other one is Kukulkan, which is Mayan. But again, as you can see, they have a human face and a serpenty kind of body. You know, I talked about the Sumerians. And so if anyone has followed any of the stories that come out of Sumeria, one of the chief deities is called Enki. And Enki is always tied to the watery deep. And so the image on the left is the traditional representation of Enki. And you can see coming off of his shoulders are those two streams. And in the streams are these little fish that identify him as being tied to water. But on the right-hand side is an even older representation of Enki, and rare representation. And he is shown in his serpent form with the upper half of a human and the lower half of his body being a snake. In Egypt, we have Apep, who this representation, he obviously is a serpent. But if you watch Stargate, this is how they represent Apep in that show, where he has a serpent head, you know, and a human body. You know, which I think reflects kind of that cosmology that we're talking about. When we start moving to the east, on the left-hand side are the Nagas. They're the ones that live in Nagaloka, the realm of the serpent people. Excuse me. And on the right, so that was India on the left. And on the right, we have Fuxi and Muwa, who are identified as, well, Muwa in particular is identified with the creation of humanity, making people out of mud. But they were also responsible for the education of humanity. Continuing, so these two images we have on the left-hand side, a representation of the gods of the Dogon, and they were called Nomo. And there were 8 Nomo that came on this ship as a progenitor god. Again, very long story. E.T. Chronicles, what myth and legends have to say about humanity. And on the right is another Sumerian image that was described by the Babylonian priest Berosus. And they're the fish-looking people, but they're people. And they were called the Onas, and they gave education to humanity. But it's not just but you find it even more. And so it wasn't just the male deities. These are representations of what in Greek culture, it would be Gaia, the Earth Mother. And the parallel Earth Mother on the left is Aztec, and that's a representation of Ciclalique. That's a mouthful thing. And on the right is Tiamat, who was defeated, and the earth was transformed from her body. But even in Christian art, we find similar representations. And so obviously, this is The Temptation of Man by Michelangelo, which is much more contemporary than Sumerian art. But in this representation, we find the devil with the upper body of a human and the lower part of his body as a serpent with serpent legs. Okay. And where am I time-wise? Okay, so I'm going to keep going just a little bit more. So what if the depiction of the upper half of a man and the lower half of a snake was a misinterpretation of oral traditions? So take a moment and think about this for a second. We have been telling stories for eons, and these stories predate visual depictions of the gods or any other representations. We didn't start, I mean, there are the caves in Laxo, which are, 35, 40,000 years ago, and they just had animals and little stick figures. But we really didn't come into, and I'm going to say art, until much later than that. And so what if these, especially like the Sumerian pieces or some of the earliest heavy duty depictions, what if they took an oral representation of this half man, half snake and made it look that way? But what if they were actually talking about what we would refer to as reptilians? So when we go further back in time, we find depictions like this. So these are little sculptures, and the figurines depict snake or reptile-headed humanoids, and they were found in cemeteries in the vicinity of Ur, Iraq, which is Babylon area. And these figures date back to 4,000 to 6,000 BC. 4,000 to 6,000 BC. We've also find kind of similar figures called Nomli figures. They were found in Sierra Leone in northern Africa, and they depict a human body with a lizard head. And then in Japan, we find this enigmatic figure that was in a temple in Japan, and this was the oldest temple in Japan. And what's interesting is that this figure was once prominently displayed inside the temple, and it has been taken off display. So we're going to leave this here right now, but this is like my favorite part. But next time, we are going to be talking about what about the other claims in these bases for the use of genetic engineering. So that's going to be next week's topic, genetic engineering in the underground bases. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that. Let me get myself back here. Hey, I'm back. I'm really enjoying this. And, you guys, if there are topics that you would like for me to talk about, reach out to me, send me a message on Facebook or YouTube, or drop me an email, because I would love to kind of create a list and share those topics with you. So anyway, before I say hi to everybody, and there's like a gajillion messages, which I love, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, please go to my webpage, soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. Drop me a note and we can set up a time. If you're listening to this show in a recorded format and you want to join in and get a free on-air psychic reading, please, the easiest place to go is my YouTube channel by going to Just Energy Radio. That's 3 words, Just Energy Radio on YouTube, and that will allow you to get into the chat area. Okay, so I have added one other thing here, and I don't know. Hopefully you guys are going to be cool with this. And so I have created a little QR code so that if you're enjoying these presentations, if you get a reading that is, you feel like you really got a lot of value out of it, I would really appreciate it if you'd leave me a little something, something, and you can scan the QR code and leave something in the tip jar, or you can go to soulhealer.com/live and it'll take you to the same page and you can leave something in the tip jar because you love me and you want to leave me a little something, something, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay.